Well, it's time to do another project, and this is a continuation of our black tank project. So I mentioned in that project that I basically just put some tape over the end of the black tank for the winter because it was in the fall and I was kind of running out of good weather to work under the coach. But now it is spring and time to work on our Macerator project. So I've got all the parts laid out here. The parts primarily came from Applied GMC, and I'll put some links in the comments for this. But this is the Macerator pump that they supplied. And from what I've seen, the C-Flow seems to be a really good brand for these. It has a 4-year warranty, which hopefully it lasts longer than that. But as far as the part number, let's see, this is it's the SFMP1 12001. So here's the number on this one. I didn't do much research. That's part of why I get things from Applied GMC, is because they've already done the research, they have the experience, and the things I've got from them generally have worked. And if I've had any questions or problems, they've been very helpful. So I went with them for all the parts here. At the back of the black tank, I'm going to have a valve, and I haven't decided yet if I'm going to need a little bit of my 3-inch pipe coming out of the black tank, or if I'll use a kind of rubber connector, or exactly how I'm going to connect things. But I'll want to basically go right to a valve, and I'll put my long rod on the end of this that I've got underneath the coach from my old valve, and that will be my kind of main valve to dump the coach through the Macerator. Applied sent me this piece, which is basically an adapter between the valve and the Macerator, and then I'll put another valve, although it may be turned around a different way here, but put another valve at the back of that. Now I'll probably also plumb in a regular drain just in case something happens to the Macerator if it's not working, but I'm not too worried about that as long as the Macerator is working. So the Macerator then connects from this inlet into the Macerator. This is apparently the outlet, and it will be connected to my outlet hose. And I think this came with, I don't know, maybe 15 feet or so of outlet hose. I'm not sure if that's going to be enough. I'll kind of see how things line up. I don't think it'll be too hard to get more of this hose, though, if I want that. It did come with this metal plate, which I presume is kind of a shield and mounting point for the Macerator. So once I get under there, I'll have to figure out what that's going to look like, where I'm going to mount it, and all of that. It also came with a switch and a fuse, so I'll have a little bit of wiring to do to actually connect this up to DC power and be able to turn it on and off. So I think I have most of the parts here. I'll probably do a couple hardware store runs along the way, but I'll keep you updated on how things go. All right, we are starting to put things together. I had a little bit of finishing up to do from the black tank, connecting the sending unit and putting this bracket back on. I glued a little stub of 3-inch pipe into the back of the black tank, and I'm going to use this 3-inch rubber coupler to attach to the back of that stub. So the reason I'm doing this, and I won't get it all assembled right at the moment, but I thought it would be good to have a disconnect from the back of the tank, just in case at some point I need to change something back here between the Macerator or a drain pipe or something like that. I thought it would be good to have a place where I could disconnect things without having to deal with glued together pipes and valves and things like that. Now, what's nice is one of the valves that I got from Applied GMC, so they're 3-inch valves, but one of them has a side here that is the size of a 3-inch ABS pipe. The other ones are a big enough size to go over the outside of a 3-inch ABS pipe. And so this will slide right into my coupler like that, and I'll be able to have a valve going out to open up for the macerator. I'll also be able to have a valve in the back here to block this off and keep it closed up. So I like the way this is looking. As far as mounting the macerator, I've got my metal plate, and I think it will mount. I'll probably need to drill some holes in the frame here, but I'll mount this metal plate here, and I think once I get everything kind of pushed together, I'll be able to put the macerator kind of on the back of this. I'll probably need to do some kind of support on the back because the macerator is kind of heavy, but overall I think things are lining up well and should do just what I want. All right, so I got all of this glued together. It's been a couple of hours so that the glue could cure and harden up, and then I used my 3-inch coupler and attached it to the pipe that I put in the back of the tank and tightened that down. So everything now is pretty snug. There's a little bit of flexibility here, which I think is good, and I think I'm ready now to work on installing this plate. So I'll need to drill some holes in this and some holes in the frame, which I'm not real excited about, but I don't see any other way to mount it. And this needs to go right about here so that we have a place to mount the macerator and protect it. So work on drilling some holes and getting a place to mount the macerator. Okay, getting closer. So I drilled some holes in my plate, and I thought I would drill a couple holes and bolt it up to the bottom and then bolt in from the back. But when I bolted it in from the bottom, it was really tight and sturdy, so I felt pretty good about that. I then bolted this up and lined up my macerator and marked it out, and then drilled my 4 holes for the macerator so it can mount to the plate. And all of that looks pretty good. I'm using 1/4-inch bolts to bolt this up. They seemed plenty sturdy. I'm using stainless steel bolts for everything. These are number 10 screws with nylock nuts on everything to help kind of keep it from rattling loose or anything. And now it's time to just bolt things up and put all this together, I think. And we've got all of the assembly done down here. So I got the plate installed, and just 2 bolts seem to be holding that very well. There is a little bit of flex to this, and so I'm thinking I probably want to have some kind of support from this backside, maybe up to this. I'll need to find something sturdy that I can attach to so it doesn't get ripped out. But I've got the connection to the back of the black tank. We've got our valve, and this will be attached to our rod that goes to the outside so that we can open this up when we're ready to use the macerator. This valve will stay closed, and that will keep everything here going through the macerator. I have not hooked up this hose yet, so we'll do that in a minute. This is basically going to be our emergency valve. So the rest of it going out the back, I'm going to put a bayonet connector on the back and just a cap so that if for some reason the macerator fails, we can open both valves and drain it out the back using the normal kind of slinky hose if we need to. But I'm hopeful that I'll never have to do that. We'll just always use the macerator. So all of the plumbing and pipes, gluing and everything, I used a couple of flexible couplers, one right here at the back of the tank and then one at the back of all of the valves. And overall, I really like how this is lining up. I do have a hanger back here that gives it a little bit more stability. So the only thing I'm worried about here is this little shield. But yeah, overall very happy. Next thing is going to be working on the wiring. So we have all of the kind of valves and pump and everything installed down below. And now it's time to do a little bit of wiring. So I got a weather-tight fuse holder. I'm going to use a 15 amp fuse because the macerator says that peak current is 12 amps. So 15 amps should give us good protection there. My plan is to wire this in right at the circuit breaker that the house battery's attached to. I think that's going to be an okay place to power it. I grounded the macerator just to the frame right where it's mounted. So I'll go from this fuse. I've got wire. See where my wire went. Got wire that is about the same size as the wiring for the macerator and everything. I will wire to a switch, which I'm going to mount down on the frame, kind of below the body. I think that'll be a good place. It'll be easy to reach to when I'm ready to drain this. And then I'm going to run from the other side of the switch to the power positive terminal on the macerator. So that'll give me my circuit. And I'll use, so this is a weather-tight fuse. I'm going to use weather-tight connections on all of my wiring here. And then I'll put some of this flex loom on it also just to help protect the wire a little bit. Hopefully we won't have any problems there. So getting one step closer. Okay, so I finished the wiring and I wired my switch in right down here where I had pointed out. It's right here on the frame. I think that's out of the way, but still easy enough to get to when we are going to dump the tanks. It's springtime, and so we hadn't put any water in the holding tank yet. So we put some water in the holding tank, went through our kind of normal spring leak check as far as all the valves and everything for winterization, filled everything up, and then ran some water into the holding tank because I wanted to see, just make sure the holding tank was holding water. We hadn't tested the black tank because we didn't have the macerator installed until today. And then I opened the valve. So opened the valve here to, well, right back here, to release water from the holding tank to the macerator. And again, no leaks, so everything looked good there. So the final test is to actually turn on the macerator and have water come out. Now, it's a brand new black tank with just water and little antifreeze from the winter, so this is clean so far. So I'm not too worried about spraying it on the ground, so don't worry about that. We haven't used the bathroom or anything. But I just want to test and make sure everything is working. So I will kind of pretend like I'm at a dump here. Well, probably would be a little further away, but turn that on. And we're getting some antifreeze and things out here, but that is all safe, so I'm not too worried about it, but seems to be pumping things out pretty well. I think we're running low because we didn't put a lot of water into the tank, so I will turn that off, but I think it works. We'll just do a little bit more leak checking and figure out how to store this, how we'll wrap it up. But overall, I'm pretty excited. I think it works. Okay, now is time for a little wrap up. We are all done with this project, and we've got all of the plumbing done. So I've got my cap on the end of the pipe here as a backup. So if we do need to connect a hose to this and drain because of a problem with the macerator, we'll be able to do that. Got all of our other valves and everything hooked up. The valve in front of the macerator has a rod that goes out to the outside, so we can open that up. The valve that you can easily see here is behind the macerator, and that one's just going to stay closed unless for some reason we need to dump out the back here. We got our drain hose set up with the macerator. I've got a little bit of slack there, but I did some strain relief as it goes over the frame. Off to the side, we've got all our wiring hooked up. I demonstrated that a little bit ago. And then the hose comes out the back, and we'll take a look at what that looks like and what we're doing for the hose storage. All right, so Keep in mind, we haven't actually used this yet. We've just put some water through it. So normally I would be wearing gloves right now, but we've got the hose coming out right here on the side, which is pretty convenient. We've got our power switch right here. So when we are dumping this, it's pretty easy to set things up, flip the switch, let it run. And then when it's done, we set up a pipe here on the back. And this is a 1-inch hose. And so I got 1.5-inch black ABS pipe, and this just slides right into that and just kind of get it snug there. There's enough friction that it doesn't seem like it's going to come out. If for some reason we find this is coming loose, we may have to do something else to hold it in there. But I think that makes it tuck away pretty nicely and makes it easy to get in and out. I put a cap on the other end and drilled a couple holes in it in case you get some moisture or something in there. But basically we're all done. So I think we can look forward to actually the first time we need to really dump this and see how it works. But I mean, just trying it out, it looks like it's going to be a huge upgrade over the stinky, slinky, and all of the kind of things we had to do to make that drain, especially since the coach is so low to the ground. There's been lots of campsites where we couldn't get enough height in the coach to get it to actually drain down the hookup. So I think this will be a nice upgrade, and we're all done. One more thing off the list.